Hi, everybody. Tim Errickson here, Boomerang Theater Company. I get the great pleasure today to talk to director Scott Ebersold, who has directed a number of Boomerang shows and projects at this point, but we're really excited that he's going to be directing the upcoming production of The Great Divide by Amy Crossman. And so, Scott, when you think about The Great Divide, and we're about to start rehearsals next week, what is The Great Divide? Like, when you think about it, like, what is this project?
It's the story of a woman who's finding a way to overcome a great loss and find a way to step forward into the future of her life.
Yeah, I think 100%. Have you directed a one-person show before? It seems like a real challenge.
I have directed a one-person show before, strangely in the exact same space, many, 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 many years ago. It is a challenge because it's just one-on-one with you in the playwright. So, but the great thing is that, and I think that what's exciting about this particular project is that Amy, the writer and the performer, has this great clowning background. And so I think that something that we're really excited about working on is using her clowning skills. I know that sounds weird in a story about someone overcoming loss, but to help tell the story in a way that allows other people to be on the stage besides the one performer, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah. I think about it from just the rehearsal room process, right? Like, I think we're so used to coming into the start of rehearsal and seeing a giant table full of people that all have scripts, but it's one person talking
Right.
for 75 minutes.
Yeah, we can't go to the other scene and work on something else when we're
Yeah,
stuck.
yeah,
So
exactly.
just,
If somebody's having a great day or a bad day, that's the whole cast is having a great day or a bad day.
yeah.
As this process has evolved and with you and Amy working collaboratively on this, is there something that really excites you about this project? Like something that really, when you think about it, like what's the thing that really sparks for you?
I think it's like a two-part thing. One is that there's so much honesty in the writing that I feel like it's coming from such a deeply honest place. But there's this unique quality that Amy brings to the writing, that there's always humor, so that we never get sort of bogged down into a dark place. It's always getting undercut in a way that feels really human to me. So I think that's what really excites me about the text.
And on that same line, in this process to date, has there been something that has surprised you about the process?
I don't know if I would say surprise, but something that I'm still trying to figure out is that Amy has this impulse, like a stand-up comedy impulse, about this idea of discovering the audience. And it's something that we've been talking about, like what does it mean for a character to discover the audience? And we haven't actually gotten to the rehearsal room yet, so we haven't really been able to explore that. But that's a question that she has posed to me that I think is super interesting, and I'm really interested to explore what does that mean when the character discovers the audience?
We just spoke to Amy a second ago, and one of the things that she mentioned was that she tends to center her work as a communal experience between performer and audience, and that the audience, in a way, is sometimes just as significant a scene partner as anyone else who might be on stage with her. Can you?
Makes sense. I
Uh,
mean, I do that. I mean, I think one of the first things that's important to me as a director is the relationship between the audience and the performance. Like, is there a fourth wall? Isn't there a fourth wall? Does the play started once the audience walks into the theater? Or does the play start after the audience walks into the theater? So the relationship between the audience, the production, is something that's also very important to me, which is something that I think this question of the character discovering the audience is somewhere at the kernel of me figuring out how that works in this production.
yeah, and I think that that's one of the many great things about this production and this play is that the audience is while not audience participation, but they are central to the storytelling elements of the play in a lot of ways. And I wonder if you found that experience to be the same with one person shows writ large, or if it's different in The Great Divide.
I mean, I think that in one person shows that the characters, when they're directly addressing the audience, that they're a part of it. But I think that in the Great Divide, it becomes more. I think it ends up having more resonance by the end of the play because of something that the play does. When we get to the end, where we really are in the same room with the performer and character, and it's only by getting into the same exact space as the audience that the character has the ability to move on to the next phase of the character's life.
Amy mentioned a second ago that she believed that The Great Divide is constructed in a way that could only be a theater piece. It could not be a book, poem, haiku. What do you think about the idea of things that could only be theater pieces versus being in any other medium? Do you find that that's true for you, or where do you land on things like that?
Yeah, I think the theater tells stories in a very different way. Theater is about creating a communal experience where we, all come into the same room and learn something new about ourselves together with the performer on stage and with the people who are around us. And in this piece, I mean, it is her act of putting on the play that allows the character to, well, I don't want to reveal what the character does, but allows the character to make a giant step in their life. And had they not had this experience of retelling the story live with real people, they wouldn't be able to move on and move forward as a character.
We talk about, particularly with The Great Divide, some of the headier, weightier issues that it grapples with and the central character grapples with. Can you talk a little bit about the counterbalance to that, like where the play is funny, where the play is whimsical, where it might surprise an audience?
Sure. The character, I feel like, is always, I feel like whenever the play gets, which is something that's very exciting about the play, is that whenever the play gets really close to being very emotional, the character pulls back in a way and uses humor to undercut something that is very honest and maybe a little bit too raw, which in a way I feel like makes it even more raw because it's so real and so human that people don't like lead forward with their hearts fully open. Like the character is in some way protecting themselves through humor. And so there are times that the play is extremely funny. And of course I want to lean into that and open up the funny parts of the play because the story is not something the character expected to happen and is not I don't think the characters are even expecting to tell the audience the story this night. But we get all of the parts of the characters, all the different parts of the characters, multiple things that make them a human being.
Yeah, I think it's so on the nose. Do you have particular one-person shows that you've seen over the years that have sort of resonated for you, that sort of got you excited about working on a one-person show?
Well, I Am My Own Wife was like an amazing performance. It was a tour de force. And Amy, I'm certainly going to give a tour de force performance. Of course, this is not Amy playing 12,000 characters, but the challenge is going to be Amy creating the other characters on stage while Amy is still on stage. And I think that's a challenge that we're both very excited about.
Absolutely. We were talking briefly about theater in this day and age, in this moment in time, where theater's in a challenging moment as an industry. And a lot of our brothers and sisters, storytellers, are on strike for being undervalued. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a theater artist in this moment? Like why theater in this moment? Because you're a smart person with a lot of skills. You could do anything you wanted in this world, and you choose to give everything that you have to this art form. And we as the audience reap the benefit of that. But I'm wondering what makes you continue? What interests you still?
Well, I mean, I do feel a great deal of solidarity for the people who work in the film and television industry who are fighting for their rights and for greater remuneration. I think that they deserve it. I think that we all do. I think that one of the things that makes theater unique is that it is about a conversation. It's a conversation between multiple artists who come together to make a singular vision. It's a conversation between the art that appears on stage and the audience. And I feel like it gives us an opportunity to come together and not feel as alone, that you have to come to a space and be with other people. There's a sense of community. And, essentially it helps us understand how to navigate this world and see things from a perspective that maybe we wouldn't have understood if had we not been in that room with those people experiencing something that's totally different or something totally familiar or something that resonates with us in all those different ways that we relate to a piece in a live space.
That's amazing. I think that's why we're also excited about seeing this show and why we're why I'm excited to produce it, but also why I think audiences are going to be really excited to see it. Last question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for people who are looking to direct a one-person show, or get started as directors? I mean, New York City is a big old place to sort of dip your hat into. Like, what's your words of wisdom to people who might be looking to direct a one-person show?
Well, I don't think there's any one singular path to becoming a director, that everyone's path is different. But I think I would look to people whose work that you admire and see the path that they went on, and see what things that they did work for you, and maybe try to go down that road or to follow that journey. But I also think it's a unique path. Every person does it their own way, and you know, working on projects that excite you, working on projects that you feel are important to be heard in this world, and keep following those projects, I think, is the way to go.
I remember a few readings that I came to where you had really just picked plays that you really just were passionate about and stage them in stage readings that sort of were a chance to get your collaborators together to all invest in one thing and sort of see what would happen, what combustion would sort of happen. And it's one of the things that I think you love, that synthesis of people together in a room and not knowing what the, A plus B is not going to necessarily equal C. It's going to be apple, you know what I mean, or banana, kumquat, whatever it is. Like it's a thing that we couldn't predict before we put these people together. And I think it's one of the things that I like about your work, and I think it's one of the things that audiences really respond to when they see your stuff.
Thanks.
How do you think about collaborators and putting people together in a room?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like you hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways. I really believed in the informed hunch, that I go into rehearsal with the informed idea of how this might go, and I'm not walking in there with a prescription and that here's where we start and this is where we're gonna end up. I like to keep everything on the table until it's clear that some things need to be removed from the table, and there could be like a crumpled piece of paper on the floor, and then the play has to be about the crumpled piece of paper on the floor. So I feel like I like to walk in with a lot of information, but open to hear multiple voices, and ultimately just whatever serves the play is what's most important to me.
Was that a technique or an attitude that you came to through discovery, or was it something you always thought about in terms of like being just an open vessel to the impulses of the room?
I think it's something that was instinctual to me, that I think that when I went to Columbia, Anne Bogart gave language to. It was something that I was doing, and then something that she described. And that's something, so I feel like it's kind of both in a way. That I didn't know I was doing it until I was told that that's something that was happening.
Yeah. It's, you're doing this amazing thing. Oh, is that what it's called? Oh, amazing. Any last thoughts you want to tell us about The Great Divide, and what audiences might be, what you're excited audiences might take away from it?
I think that audiences are going to have a really fun and emotionally challenging experience. We have a really beautiful scenic design for Amy to play inside of, and there'll be unexpected things that happen in that sort of surreal and magical world. The story that Amy has to tell is a really important story, and I feel one that should be heard, and it's something that many people, not everyone has gone through, but I think that a lot of people can relate to.
That's perfect. That's great. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.